There's a couple of pieces of source material that we're going to look at today and kind of deep dive into. The first, of course, is the question from one of our listeners about Trump's, his vision for Bitcoin and what it means for the average American, and also this, this Trump P coin and kind of what's going on there.
Right.
The second piece is an article that was published in Bitcoin Magazine yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So literally 2 days before the inauguration.
Yeah.
And it's titled, President Trump has got a bold vision for Bitcoin in America. So, definitely a great time for this to come out, I think.
For sure. Just yesterday, Bitcoin Magazine published that article.
Yeah.
President Trump has got a bold vision for Bitcoin in America. And
yeah, like literally 2 days before he's inaugurated for his second term.
I know.
It's definitely like raising some eyebrows.
Talk about timing, right?
Right. Like what's going on here? So the article lays out a number of promises that Trump made at Bitcoin 2024.
Oh, okay.
And these include things like ending the, quote, anti-crypto stance of previous administrations, totally revamping regulation, and creating a presidential crypto advisory council.
A presidential crypto advisory council.
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you make of all this?
Well, you have to remember, this is the first U.S. president to openly back cryptocurrency like this.
Right.
In the past, Trump has had kind of a mixed stance on Bitcoin.
Right.
But his recent actions suggest a real change.
It does seem like a shift for sure.
Yeah, if you go back and look at some of his earlier statements, he actually said Bitcoin was like thin air. But now he's talking about embracing it and bringing it into the mainstream.
Yeah.
That's pretty big.
It feels like a complete 180.
It does.
And in addition to the advisory council thing, he's also made some other pretty big promises.
Okay.
Rejecting the central bank digital currency, securing government-owned Bitcoin, and even freeing Ross Ulbricht.
Whoa, hold on. So each one of those has pretty big implications. Like take the central bank digital currency, or CBDC.
Okay.
That's essentially digital cash. It's issued and controlled by a central bank. So in the U.S., that would be the Federal Reserve.
Okay.
The idea is a CBDC would make transactions faster and cheaper, but the catch is it would give the government a lot of control over your finances.
Right. So that's why, like, rejecting that aligns with Bitcoin's whole decentralized thing.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. And then what about freeing Ulbricht? That's a whole other can of worms.
Right. Ulbricht founded Silk Road.
Yeah.
Which was this online marketplace.
Right.
But here's the thing. It was operating on the dark web.
Yep.
It was known for illegal goods, like drugs.
Right.
Ulbricht got hit with a double life sentence plus 40 years, no parole.
Whoa.
Freeing him sends a strong message about Trump's stance on internet freedom and maybe even the war on drugs.
Wow.
It's definitely a move that will get people talking.
Talk about making a statement.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Trump saying he wants to be Bitcoin's best buddy.
Right.
But the article also mentions that actually doing these things won't be easy.
Oh, absolutely.
Like there are going to be roadblocks.
Political roadblocks galore.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. You've got the existing financial system. They're not exactly thrilled about a competitor like Bitcoin coming in and changing things.
Right. All this talk about a bold vision for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Should we be taking it with a grain of salt?
I wouldn't say a grain of salt, but a healthy dose of cautious optimism is definitely in order.
Okay.
Look, these promises could be huge for Bitcoin, no doubt.
Yeah.
A friendlier regulatory environment could lead to way more people using and investing in Bitcoin. And that could lead to all sorts of innovation, but we've got to set actions, not just words.
Actions, not just words. Okay, fair enough, but let's bring it back to you, the listener, because that's what matters here.
Right. We can't ignore the elephant in the room, the potential for personal gain.
Yeah.
This is where things get a little murky. Is Trump truly championing Bitcoin for the good of the country, or is this about him profiting?
Right, especially with this new Trumpian coin.
Right.
Are we talking about a genuine attempt to bring Bitcoin to the masses, or is this a way for him to line his own pockets?
Right.
I think that's where a lot of people are feeling uneasy.
And rightfully so, we need to be asking these questions.
Yeah.
The Bitcoin Magazine article actually emphasizes that the Bitcoin community needs to stay super engaged.
Okay.
Pushing for clear legislation, pushing for frameworks that help innovation thrive, and watching what's happening like a hawk.
Which is exactly what you're doing by sending in this question.
Right.
You're ahead of the game.
Exactly. The more people who are informed and engaged, the better equipped we'll be to navigate this whole thing and make sure any changes to the crypto landscape actually benefit everyone, not just a select few.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork. Trump's got this ambitious Bitcoin strategy. But there are some real questions about his motives and the potential downsides.
Right. So now that we've got that foundation, let's shift gears a bit and explore some of the concerns that have been bubbling up within the Bitcoin community itself about this newfound political support. Some people are worried that this might not be the unqualified win, it seems at first glance.
Yeah, because embracing Bitcoin and wanting to control it could be two very different things.
Exactly.
You know, as we were kind of digging into this whole Trump and Bitcoin thing, something you said in your question really struck me.
Okay.
This idea that the people who are like, you know, most into Bitcoin,
Right.
the people who've been, you know, championing it all along are now kind of uneasy about a pro-Bitcoin president.
Yeah.
Like, why is that?
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have these people who have been pushing for wider adoption,
Right.
but now they're not so thrilled about the government getting involved.
Right.
They worry that too much government intervention could actually undermine the very thing that makes Bitcoin so appealing.
I mean, Bitcoin was built on this idea of being decentralized,
Exactly.
like free from government control, free from censorship.
Right.
So I can see how some people might feel like this is a bit
Yeah.
suspicious.
Exactly. One of the biggest fears is that this could lead to a ton of new regulations and a lot more surveillance.
Okay.
Imagine a world where every Bitcoin transaction is tracked and monitored by the government.
Yeah.
That could stifle innovation and limit the freedom that Bitcoin users currently enjoy.
Right. And then there's the whole issue of like government-backed initiatives,
Yeah.
like Trump talking about securing government-owned Bitcoin.
Right.
Doesn't that go against the whole decentralized thing?
Yeah, that's what some critics are arguing.
Go ahead.
They're saying if the government starts hoarding Bitcoin,
Uh-huh.
it could distort the market and give an unfair advantage to certain players.
Right.
It's like the government stepping in and picking winners and losers,
Right.
which goes against that idea of a level playing field.
Okay, so for someone like you, the listener, who might be new to all of this,
Yeah.
what does all this tension between, you know, the potential benefits and the potential risks actually mean?
Yeah, it really boils down to this: stay informed and think critically.
Okay.
Don't just accept everything you hear at face value.
Okay.
Do your own research.
Right.
Read different perspectives. Figure out where you stand on these issues.
Because ultimately it's your money, your financial future we're talking about.
Exactly. The decisions that are being made right now will have a real impact on how you use and interact with money in the future.
Right.
So it's crucial to understand what's at stake and to advocate for policies that align with your values.
It almost feels like this is a turning point for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Where it's like moving from the fringes into the mainstream.
Right.
And the community is having to figure out how to navigate this new terrain.
It's a pivotal moment for sure. And it all circles back to the concern you raised in your question, the potential for conflict of interest.
Right.
Whether it's the Trump coin or any other policy decision, we need to be asking, who benefits from this?
Yeah.
Is it the average person or is it just the people in power?
Because it's easy to get swept up in the excitement of a pro-Bitcoin president.
Right.
And all these big promises.
Yeah.
But we can't forget that politicians, even the ones who seem to support Bitcoin,
Yeah.
often have their own agendas.
We have to remember that transparency and accountability are absolutely essential. We can't just take their word for it. We need to see concrete evidence that their actions are truly aligned with the best interests of the Bitcoin community and the public.
What are like the red flags we should be watching out for? What would make you as an expert say, hold on, this doesn't feel right?
Well, for starters, if there's a lack of transparency around how this coin is being launched and managed, that's a big one.
Okay.
We need to know who's behind it, how the value is determined,
Okay.
whether there are any mechanisms to prevent manipulation or insider trading.
So basically, if it feels like there's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Exactly. And if there are any indications that Trump or his inner circle are personally profiting from this coin, that's a huge red flag.
That would be a clear conflict of interest.
Absolutely.
He'd be using his position to enrich himself, potentially, at the expense of the very people he's supposed to be representing.
Right. And it would also damage the credibility of Bitcoin itself.
Yeah.
If people start to see it as just another tool for the powerful to exploit, that could set the whole movement back years.
So to bring it back to our listener,
Yeah.
what can you do to protect yourself and make sure you're not getting taken advantage of?
First and foremost, educate yourself.
Okay.
Learn as much as you can about Bitcoin blockchain technology and the potential risks and rewards of investing in cryptocurrency.
Right.
Don't put your money into something you don't understand.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Absolutely.
If something doesn't feel right,
Yeah.
if it seems too good to be true,
Yeah.
trust your gut and dig deeper.
Absolutely. And remember, you have a voice. Don't be afraid to speak up, to challenge authority, to demand transparency from those in power.
Yeah.
The future of Bitcoin is being shaped right now, and it's crucial that we all participate in that conversation.
Okay, so we've explored this tension between the excitement of Bitcoin entering the mainstream
Right.
and then the concerns about government overreach and potential conflicts of interest.
We've also talked about the importance of staying informed, thinking critically, and advocating for policies that align with your values. Now let's shift our focus to what all this means for the average American,
Right.
for someone like you who might be wondering how these political maneuvers will actually impact your life.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from Trump's grand vision for Bitcoin to the potential pitfalls of government involvement.
Right.
But let's bring it all home.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you, the listener.
Yeah.
You're hearing all this talk about Bitcoin,
Yeah.
about presidents and policies and conflicts of interest. And you might be wondering, okay, but how does this actually affect me?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We can talk about, abstract concepts and high-level strategies, but it's the impact on people's everyday lives that truly matters.
Exactly. So let's say you're someone who's heard about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Maybe you're even curious about it, but you haven't really dipped your toes in yet.
Right.
Should you be paying attention to what's happening with Trump and these potential policy changes?
Absolutely. Even if you're not actively using or investing in Bitcoin right now, the decisions that are being made at the government level could have ripple effects throughout the entire financial system.
Oh, wow.
Think of it like this. The way we interact with money, the way we bank, invest, even pay for things, it's all built on a certain set of rules and infrastructure.
Right.
And those rules are being challenged and potentially rewritten as we speak.
Okay, so even if I'm not a Bitcoin enthusiast, this could still impact my wallet.
It's certainly possible, for example, if Trump succeeds in pushing for wider Bitcoin adoption, it could change the way businesses operate,
Yeah.
the types of financial services that are available,
Right.
and even the way we think about money itself.
Wow.
It could be as significant as the shift from physical cash to credit cards,
Right.
or even the rise of the internet.
Okay, that puts things into perspective.
Yeah.
But what about those concerns we discussed earlier?
Yeah.
Like the potential for increased government regulation and surveillance. Could that impact the average person, even if they're not using Bitcoin directly?
It's definitely something to consider. More government involvement in the crypto space could mean more rules,
Okay.
more oversight, and potentially less privacy.
Right.
Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing depends on your perspective. Some people might welcome the added security and consumer protections that could come with government regulation.
Right.
Others might see it as an intrusion on their financial freedom and autonomy.
So it's not a clear-cut situation.
It's not.
There are potential benefits and potential downsides.
Right.
And it's up to each individual to weigh those and decide what's important to them.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here.
Okay.
It's about understanding the potential impact of these changes and advocating for the type of financial system you want to see in the future.
Okay, so let's say I'm listening to all this.
Yeah?
And I'm thinking, all right, this is important stuff, but what can I do about it?
Yeah.
I'm just one person. How can I possibly influence government policy or the future of Bitcoin?
First and foremost, educate yourself.
Okay.
The more you understand about Bitcoin blockchain technology and the potential implications of these policy changes,
Right.
the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions and participate in the conversation. There are tons of resources available online, books, articles, podcasts, even online courses.
So it's all about taking ownership of your financial literacy
Yes.
and really understanding how these changes might impact you personally.
Right. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay.
If something doesn't make sense, if you're unsure about something, dig deeper.
Yeah.
Talk to people who are knowledgeable about Bitcoin. Reach out to your elected officials. Join online forums and communities.
Okay.
The more informed and engaged we all are, the better.
It's almost like we're all pioneers in this new digital frontier.
Yeah.
And we need to work together to chart the course.
That's a great analogy. The future of Bitcoin and really the future of finance is being shaped right now. And it's crucial that we all participate in that conversation.
So to wrap this all up, we've explored the facts.
Right.
We've weighed the pros and cons.
We have.
We've considered the potential implications for everyday Americans. What's the key takeaway here?
Here's a final thought-provoking question for you.
Okay.
How do we balance the potential benefits of wider Bitcoin adoption with the need to preserve its decentralized nature? Can we embrace government support without compromising the very principles that made Bitcoin so appealing in the first place?
That's a really important question.
It is.
And it's one that we all need to grapple with as this story continues to unfold.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Trump's Bitcoin strategy.
It was a pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and, most importantly, empowering.
Definitely.
Until next time, stay curious.